Welcome into Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, along with Joe Meyer of eventing fame. Just thrown off there just a little bit. Joe's going to talk to us about the upcoming 5-star event out in Cecil County at Fair Hills in just a minute. But first, I got to tell you about the Costas Inn. That's right. By the way, I was able to eat some Costas Inn food last night. I pulled some carryout out of there. Absolutely fantastic. Everybody was thrilled with the crabs. My good friend Rick got whales, which run about $14.50 a piece. They were monstrous. So everybody knows the Costas Inn is the preeminent place for Maryland steamed crabs, crab soup, crab cakes, but they also have a whole host of other specials, and they do amazing job with their curbside carryout. You go to costasin.com, their website. You can order online, you can pay online, and then when you pick it up, you don't even have to get out of your car, and they'll bring the food out to you. The Costas Inn, best in Maryland, no question about it, for crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and a whole host of other specials throughout the week. All right, joining us now is a renowned eventing writer, Joe Meyer from New Zealand. We welcome you aboard on the Pressbox Live show, Joe, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stan, and it's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Joe, first of all, first thing I want to ask you is you actually got to ride at you got to compete last year at the 5-star here in Cecil County, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Tell us a little bit. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's last year was the first year. So it was all new for everybody, being a 5-star. And I've ridden at Fair Hill a few times at the 4-star level. And so it was going to be really quite a big thing. I mean, a 5-star is a big special event. North America only ever had one, which was at Kentucky in Lexington. So the Rolex 5-star. And so the addition of a second 5-star in North America is an absolutely huge thing. Okay, so there are not very many 5-stars in the world. There's 2 in England, there's 1 in Germany. Pardon me?
There's 7 of them total. I think Maryland and Kentucky.
Yeah. There's 7 total. There's 1 in France, 1 in Germany, 2 in England, 2 in North America, and 1 in Australia.
Right.
So it's a really big thing. So we were all sort of had big high hopes coming here and doing the 5-star last year, and it certainly didn't disappoint. It's a big show. It's going to be a big course. No one knows what it's going to be like. There's a course designer is known for making a big scary course and things, and so there was a lot of anticipation. Good international riders bringing horses from overseas to have a crack at getting the prize money as well. And so, we all got there, and it was everything that we thought it was going to be, which was fantastic.
Can you put into words, I've talked about it, the difference between a 5-star and a 4-star? Is there a quantifiable difference that the really keen observer and knowledgeable eventing person will know right off the bat that these horses are of a higher level, or were the course restraints and the way they do the dressage more complex?
Yeah, it's both of those things. So the dressage test is what we call the dressage test. It is more difficult in the 5-star, not by a lot, but it makes it more complex. And it also, because it's the addition of, there's 4 flying changes instead of 2, which is when the horse jumps and changes its lead in the canter. And there's extra little bits. And so if things go wrong, there's more things to go wrong, and it's kind of harder. So the test itself, the dressage test itself is harder. The course is longer. It's run over the same speed at 570 meters per minute, but it's about an extra minute, and it can be up to an extra, I don't know, minute and a half or so. So it is longer, and the jumps are approximately the same height, but the 5-star test is just that much tougher, and it takes elite athletes and horses to be able to compete at that. And because of the extra distance and the extra endurance that it requires, it takes more of a special type of horse. So there are some horses that can run up through 3-star level and maybe go pretty well at 4-star, but they'll find the 5-star is just a bit too much for them. And it's exactly the same in so that you have people run 100 meters and people that can do the 10K, so it's kind of a little bit different. So it makes it just that little bit more elite and that little bit more special.
Well, I'm just curious also, last year we heard that they had made the course, the cross-country course, like pretty difficult. And this year they have backed off of it a little bit. Could you tell automatically when you were practicing last year, this is a little too strenuous for the horses?
So that's a good question, actually, Stan, because when you look at the results, you'll see that some of the more older, hardened 5-star horses and riders made it look not as difficult as everybody else. So I think what's happening is, for people in North America, we need to get the people that are moving up to 5-star, we need to lift the standard a bit. And with the addition of 2 5-stars, that's going to be fantastic. So people, I think some people were coming and they might not have been 100% prepared, but the older experienced horses went really, really well. The answer to your question, yeah, I think when we walked around the course, everyone was like, okay, this is pretty tough. But it was more to do with the terrain. And the terrain, even for me, was harder than what we thought. There was one very big, long pull up a hill to a water combination. And then we ran downhill again. And then on the way back through the course, there was some up and some down and some up and some down. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back with the more less experienced horses.
Yeah.
The older ones that have done it a few times, that could just dig a bit deeper, and with experienced riders, they made it look okay. But so I think what has happened now, what I've been told, and this is what you get told, is I think the start and finish has been changed this year.
Yeah.
So they're able to start the horses with, I think the idea is they can use some terrain, and then in the middle of the course there's a little bit of breathing space, and then there's more sort of terrain, and then the end of the course isn't quite as strenuous. And I think that's going to make it really good. When you look at some of the stats of other 5-stars in the world, this one is without doubt the hilliest and the most up and down. But it all depends. And like from an athlete point of view, if you blow the horse out too quick, it's not going to be able to cope. So for a rider, you've got to be able to know when you can push, when you've got to ease up, when you've got to, let them catch their breath a little bit and hopefully have enough in the tank that you can really rattle them home.
When you use the term terrain, you mean flat?
I mean terrain as I mean up and down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
is the course here, for example, on a difficult course, is it equally difficult for horse and rider stamina wise, or only the horse?
So there's a certain level of fitness that riders are going to need.
Yeah.
And it depends on what kind of rider you are. Now, if you've got a very large string of horses and you're riding these big competitions on a very regular basis, and riding, 6 to 10 horses every day and competing week in, week out, you're probably going to be in fairly good shape. If you are somebody that's only got maybe 1 or 2 horses and you're riding at the very highest level, you're going to have to get in the gym and supplement your fitness work. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely strenuous on both horses and riders. One of my good friends last year, they said to her, well, what do you think? And she goes, well, I just hope I'm fit enough,
Mm-hmm.
So. But yeah, no, it's definitely, you've got to be in good shape yourself.
This is again the five. I'm talking to our viewers out there. The Maryland 5-star event, which takes place at Fair Hills out in Cecil County, October 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's a Thursday through Sunday. The dressage is Thursday and Friday from 1 to 5. This is the 5-star dressage. Talk a little bit about dressage for a young rider, and I know you're a seasoned rider now, Joe, which is my way of saying you're getting older like I am. But being a seasoned rider, I imagine dressage pretty darn well. Was it tough when you were a young rider to know how to do to fill out the dressage, what you had to do?
Yes, incredibly. I mean, well, it's more complex than what you think. I mean, just for one, you've got to memorize the test.
Yeah.
You've got nobody out there calling it to you and telling you where to go. And
Right.
this happens often. There will be plenty of people that forget their way and you're deducted points. So you've got to memorize the test. When you're a young rider, learning to ride dressage is one of those things. I mean, it's not something you can read out of a book. It's something that you're going to have to train with people helping you on the sidelines. And even if it's your friends and you're working together, so it takes a long time. And learning to ride the test, but also learning to train the horse. Then you've got to try and get it, so you've done all your training and you've trained for years and you've remembered your test, and then you've got to try and get it right on the day. Yeah, and that's interesting too, because some horses comes out of the stable and they go to the warm-up and they're very, very good. And they go and do everything that they're told. And it's a partnership, the rider is, and then the horses go very well. Some horses go to a big show and they see the cross-country jumps and they think that it's cross-country day and they just absolutely lose their marbles. And so you've got to be able to know how to produce that perfect dressage test for that 7 to 8 minutes that you're in the ring, and how you're going to get there and what your warm-up's going to be. And there's all sorts of different ways. You'll see people out there just at the crack of dawn riding their horses, and they might get back on the horse again, ride it again. And then there's all sorts of grooming, and the magnet rud goes on, and to relax the horse, and all of these things go on and on. And so it's trying to figure out what you need to do with your horse and yourself to get yourself in the best place for that moment.
The dressage, I'm curious if you screw up, but it was the rider that screws up, not the horse. I guess there's a way that the judges could see that. Are they inclined to take off just as much because the rider made a mistake, or do they say, no, that's a partnership and I'm going to have to take a point off of the horse and rider, so to speak?
It's a good question. I think what they
all
do
my
is
all my questions, Joe, are good because I know so little about eventing. I'm trying to learn. This is our second year covering it, and I find it a lot of things curious about it. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So the dressage test is broken down into movements. Okay, so movement 1 may be canter in the center line and I halt salute. Okay, now you're going to get a mark from 1 to 10. 10 is excellent and 1 is not completed, well, or very, very bad. A 0 is not completed. You're going to get a mark from there. So they're going to mark the horse and rider on those movements. Now, the horse could make a mistake and the rider could make a mistake, but that's going to affect that 1 to 10 mark on that movement. Okay. So say the horse halts very nicely and then takes a step backwards. The point goes off, okay. Or the rider makes a mistake and you go off the center line. That's going to take a point off in that movement. At the end of the test, that you're marked on what's called the collective marks, and so it's suppleness and balance and things, and so there's a mark for that, and there's also a mark for how well you rode the test, and that mark usually falls in line with the average of the other marks that you're getting.
Okay.
Did that help?
No, it helps understand.
Yeah.
And somebody like last year's winner, Boyd Martin won. I don't know the name of his horse. Did they not get any dressage points knocked off, or you can still win the whole event even if you get a couple, 2 or 3 points knocked off?
Yes. Now, what has happened in more modern times is the scoring system for the dressage. There used to be a multiplying factor to give you that final score. Now it is deducted out of 100. So if you're getting 6s and if you're getting 7s out of 10 for every movement, you're trending on about a 30. Okay. If you're getting 8s out of 10, you're trending on about a 20. And a 20 is a very, very good mark. Okay. But what it's done with the scoring system is it's brought the field closer together. So the winner, and it's exceptional to be anywhere near the 20s, but the first place getter may be on 23 or 24 or 22. And then someone that didn't do such a great test might be on 32. Now, when you throw in the timing and the cross-country penalties and four faults for a rail down, it brings it closer together. So for my mind, I think it's better. It's more focused on the horse's jumping ability and things, because it used to be a good score would be in the low 30s and a bad score would be in the high 50s. And so you felt like there's no way you could make up. But now that it's closer together, you've got a chance. If you're sitting in the high 20s, you should be going down to cross country with, gritting your teeth. I'm going to go fast and clear and jump clear tomorrow, and I'll be right there.
Yeah. Before we finish talking about the actual competition, I wanted to ask you, I'm sure there's some downtime, when you're not riding and actually out there competing, doing the events. Did you get to circle the grounds and walk around and soak it in and say, boy, this is a pretty neat event? Because we heard a lot of buzz last year that this was quite an impressive event overall. And I know this year they've made the changes to the cross country. They've added some more retail for fans to walk around and buy stuff. And they also have included some food trucks and all that. But last year, do you have a time to soak in the event and just say, hey, they've done this pretty well?
Yeah, not a huge amount of time, but yes. And so what we would do is we would go up to the main stands to watch. I had a couple of friends come over from England, New Zealanders, Tim and Noel Price, and they are like, number 2 and number 4 in the world. So we'd go up to the stands to watch them go live, but so not on a screen. And then we would go to a couple of trade stands and see bits and pieces. I have to say, I was listening to your ad, and the crab bisque stand probably is my favorite place to go in the whole of the vendors. It is amazing, but no, we got a bit of a chance to do it. It's one of those things when you are when you're riding that level, you end up getting very focused on getting around the course and doing things. So yeah, there is time, not a huge amount of time, but there is. And yeah.
The reason I asked the question, because you've competed all around the world. How did the event, the entirety of the event, compare to Australia or Kentucky or, I've got the Germany or the UK? Did it seem as high a level of an event?
I would say yes, it did. And the only one I haven't ridden at is Adelaide in Australia.
Okay.
But they're all different in their own ways. And I like the uniqueness too, because in England you are outside a castle or a giant stately home, and that can't be replicated anywhere else. In France, you're at a race course and it's on a very, very small piece of property. But it's I think it's the Frenchness that makes it. It's the food stands and the beautiful food and that sort of stuff that make it sort of into its own 5-star.
Yeah.
Germany has it's a really, really good venue and things, and it's come a long way. So yeah, no, they're all just that little bit different. So I think that's one of the things that we were wondering ourselves when we got there. Is this really going to be as big as what we thought, or will it compare to the other events? And the answer is yes. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of little teething trouble and a few things that need to be sorted out.
Yep.
But overall, it's right up there with the other ones. Yeah.
All right, that's
in
what
its
I wanted
own
to know.
Maryland way, but I think that is a good thing.
Yeah, I think each event should have a novelty to it that's synonymous with where it is geographically,
Yeah.
And question. I was doing a little research on you, and I know that you've been, I don't know how recent, because when you go back over bios, you're not sure how old. Are you and your wife Ruthie still located in Ocala, Florida?
Yeah, we are.
I wanted to ask you, how are you down there now? Are you up here now? And
Yeah, no, yep.
how is the weather down there with regards to the hurricane? Because I know it's crossing over the state, and I know you're somewhere, aren't you? You're not that far from the Orlando area, I think.
No, so we are about 100 miles from Orlando. Takes about an hour and a quarter down to the airport.
Right.
I have to say we have been extremely lucky.
Yeah.
With the weather, with the way the hurricane has gone through. And it's one of those things that until you've actually been in a real hurricane, it's hard to sort of comprehend. When Irma came over us 5 years ago, it made a real mess, and massive tree came through our house and fences down and power out for 9 days. And so we were really not looking forward to this at all.
Yeah.
For us, it seemed to have turned early, and a front was coming in from the northwest, which helped hold it down. So we've been exceptionally lucky. We did not lose power. We have to do we do a lot of things now. As far as power is the hardest thing, because almost all of us have well pumps, not city water. And so we need to be able to water our horses and go about, it's not just yourself, you've got all the horses and all the animals. So that's the tough one. So we're filling up massive containers full of water, making sure we've got our generators up and running, plenty of fuel on hand, all of those sorts of things, but we worked on that about sort of 6 days ago, because normally what happens and what did, I mean, there's no fuel. All the fuel stations, I went to the barn to ride a few today, all the fuel stations are out of fuel. So yeah, you've just got to get on it early.
Is an event such as that tremendously traumatic for the horses? And it sounds like you got lucky. Were they still jittery because they knew something was going on? Because animals really can sense these kind of things.
It's funny because yes, I think I think the dogs were the ones that were really knowing that things were coming, and more than anything else. There's different schools of thought. I mean, I had a lot of my horses in the barn last night, and all the doors shut and things. And I also had horses at my farm where I live, out in fields with field shelters, and they were all absolutely fine. So it's very different. If you've got a very sturdy barn, probably going to put the horses in but you've got to remember that roofs come off very quickly. So you've got to sort of weigh up what the story is. We were very lucky. Our local, the WEC Equestrian Centre, the World Equestrian Centre, made stalls available for a lot of people that came up from South Florida.
Right.
And they did that at no charge. And I mean, that's, they have 3,000 stalls there. And so a lot of people went there.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I went and rode my horses today, but I actually think that they were wild and fresh for sure. But I think it's more just because they've been cooped up, to be honest, a bit like us, they wanted to get out and do something.
Yeah. Before I want to circle back, because Marty, our PR guy, Marty Bauman, is going to say, what the hell were you talking to him about the weather in Florida for? Because I do want to get back, circle back to the event at Fair Hills, the 13th through the 16th. But I had one more question. When you competed in the UK, another current events question, did you ever get to meet the Queen Elizabeth?
The answer is no.
Okay.
But I did go to a cocktail party with her.
Okay.
Because I was a member of the Smith's Lawn Jumping Club, and they held a cocktail party in Windsor Castle. So that was about as close as I got. I'm very good mates with her granddaughter, Zara Tyndall.
Okay.
We've ridden together, and we're very, very good friends. And that's just because, we go to the same shows and things like that. And the Royal Princess Anne did give me a prize one day at Gatcombe. So.
All right. Now let's circle back to Fair Hills. The Sunday event is called the Second Horse Inspection and Show Jumping. Tell us a little bit about that final day, because that ends up determining at the end of the day who the winner is. No matter how well you do in dressage and how well you do in cross country, you got to ace that test too, don't you?
You do. So first, we probably should mention what the first horse inspection is.
Yep.
And that is generally done on the Wednesday before, where all the horses are presented to the ground jury. And they basically jogged up and down, and the English call it a trot up, and us Americans here, we call it a jog. And the horses are jogged up and down on the hard top in front of the ground jury to make sure that they are fit to start the competition.
Okay.
So on the final day, the jog is done again, and it's usually at some stupid time in the morning, usually about 8 o'clock or 7:30, and so that's done again. People and the horses have turned out beautifully, and they're braided, and it's the riders are all turned out, and it's a bit of a fashion show on the first jog and that sort of thing. But it's to check that the horses are in good shape to continue to the last phase, which is the show jumping. Okay. Right. So they've had a big day the day before, a big strenuous day, and it's a horse welfare thing to make sure that no one's trying to ride a horse that's not quite right to go. So that happens first. Sometimes some horses don't make it through, and it could be for anything. It's like, you can bump yourself or whatever. It's just, it doesn't necessarily mean there's been a bad injury. So you go to the final phase. Now, we're jumping the the final phase is a show jumping round. It's not huge like Grand Prix jumping, but it's a very big test considering what's happened the day before. And where it becomes really skillful is riders that can ride a clear round on a horse that's a little bit tired, and that the horse is careful enough to leave the show jumps up. And it becomes very nail biting because very quickly rails turn into thousands of dollars. And that's when, it makes or breaks the whole competition, So yeah, when a rail costs you $10,000, you don't feel very fantastic,
I got you.
So
there's a lot of while there's a lot of stress throughout the event, the last day can really be stressful.
Yeah, I mean, there's different emotions and stresses throughout all of the phases. Now, the cross country phase, for instance, is, it will scare people. You're very nervous, and it's not a question of it's you out there against the course, and so it can be frightening. Yeah. Whereas the show jumping, it's colored poles, they're going to fall down. Generally, things are going to be okay, but the pressure's on,
If you had one event, if somebody was new to it, sort of like me, but even newer, and they said, this is going to be a yearly event out here, let's try it. Would you say cross country day is the day to see, or any of the days is kind of equal?
Well, what I would like to say is, if I was going to send people, I would say go to the cross country day first.
Yep.
And hopefully you'll be hooked then, and you'll want to come back for the show jumping and see who wins.
All right. That sounds good.
That would be I would like to see people go to the cross country and then have to come back the next day.
All right.
Yeah.
What horse will you be riding throughout the event?
I've got a young mare. She's going to be running in the 3-star competition.
Okay.
And her name is Simple Hearted, and I've only had her for about 4 months. It'll be a big step up for her, but she's fabulous in her brain, and she's talented, and I think it's the right thing to do. So,
at what age is the best age for a horse that's really seasoned and understands what they're up against in an eventing thing? Is it 4 or 5?
No, it's actually quite a lot older.
7 or 8.
It's more like 11 or 12.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Did not know that, Joe.
Yeah. It takes a long time of training and muscle building and experience, and put in the confidence to build these horses up to this level. It's not something that you can do in 1 or 2 years. And so it does take a long time. And so normally 5-star horses, we would think a young 5-star horse would probably be a 9-year-old.
Really? Okay.
And yeah. And then they would be as a trainer, you'd like them to be there or thereabouts as a 9-year-old and good at 10 and really peaking by sort of 11 or 12. And so it all depends. And so you're going to pick and choose those competitions. Now, if you train the horses properly and do things well and don't run them at every single event and pick and choose, and they'll go on and on and on. And we do see a lot of horses at age 15, 16, and 17 years old that are competitive and are on the international scene. So it's not like racing. It takes a long time to build those muscles, a long time to get the horse into that place.
One last question for you, and you've been generous with your time, Joe, and I look forward, hopefully, to shaking your hand out there at Fair Hills, October 13th, 14th, 15th, or 16th. Is there anything equivalent in eventing to winning the Triple Crown in thoroughbred racing? I mean, you wouldn't say, boy, if you win all 7 of these races, that's a great year because you won 7 races. But is there anything equivalent in the eventing world, or is winning one of them kind of really a major, major deal?
So there is now, whether it's actually because of COVID and things, and I think there's been a little bit of an upset, but I'm not quite sure. But what we have had in the past is called the Eventing Grand Slam.
Okay.
And that was the three events that were involved were badminton, Burley, and Rolex Kentucky.
Okay.
There's only been, I think, 2 winners of the Grand Slam. One was Pippa Funnel and one was Michael Young.
Okay.
And it was sponsored by Rolex, and it was worth an incredibly large amount of money. Now, like I said, with COVID and with what's going on and events being cancelled and things, I'm sure that's going to come back online again.
Mm-hmm.
But to win that Grand Slam is probably even more difficult than the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right up there with the Triple
Crown.
It sounds like it. Yeah. I mean, to do, and you're allowed to ride, you don't have to ride the same horse, but even that is hard.
Yeah.
You know, you can win 2, and it's got to be in a row.
Okay.
So if you win Burley, the next place you're going is Rolex Kentucky.
Rolex Kentucky.
Because Rolex runs before badminton, but it's the week before. So you've got to win one week, and you've got to win the next one the next week.
That's really, really challenging. Hey,
I mean,
it's really been great to talk to you. I really appreciate it. I want to remind our viewers out there, you've been listening to Joe Meyer. He's world renowned in the eventing game. The Maryland 5-star comes to Fair Hills October 13th through 16th, and go to Maryland, the number 5, Maryland5star.us to get your tickets and information about the event. Joe, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me. I've really loved it.
All right. Great to talk to you. There you go. I'll see you again Monday with Ross Grimsley when we go back to talking about the American game of baseball. Talk soon. Bye.